निकिता, मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है कि ऐसे कौन से रेड फ्लैग्स हैं, ऑलरेडी हर्ष और इहान हंस रहे हैं, जो लड़कों में आपको दूर से दिख जाते हैं, रेड जैकेट पहनने के अलावा? on a real
very good question. I want to know. Yeah.
I think the number one red flag is anybody who shows off. I hate people who show off. Hate nahi, matlab that's a big put off for me. Hate बहुत strong word है, but it's a big put off for me. कोई भी जो आकर मतलब आप सिंपल सा जिम में चले जाओ, मेरी नजरें इतनी तो ठीक ठाक है कि मुझे पता चल जाता है who's coming, doing this. कई लोग आते हैं सिर्फ ये करने के लिए. So even anywhere you go, you kind of realize somebody who's only talking about themselves. अरे मैं तो ये करता हूँ, मैं ये हूँ, मैंने ये किया है. That's a big red flag for me. That's number one. ये तो obvious वाले हैं. And number two is somebody who kind of I won't say exactly lies, but then is a bit pretentious. I know it is almost similar to the first one.
Yeah.
लेकिन
external difference है दोनों.
हाँ, दोनों में थोड़ा difference है. आप show off कर रहे हो, you can be something and you're just kind of flaunting it. And being pretentious is trying to be something that you're not.
Okay, coming to you guys, Harsh and Ihan, आपको ऐसे कौन से red flags जो दिख जाते हैं already दूर से? Of course, like boy in case तो yeah.
Like categorization wise, like green flag, red flag तो होता नहीं है. I believe आप कभी-कभी आपको किसी ऐसे इंसान भी पसंद आते हैं और बेइंतहा प्यार हो जाता है. Who has all the bad qualities, who has all the red flags. Like my friend is going through a very difficult phase right now, where when he speaks about her, there is never a single good quality. So it's all based on a red flag. But there is also a point that he is always missing her.
Right.
Despite her having all the red flags, he still loves her. So I don't think like I also based like acha ye red flag so it doesn't work out for me. Sometimes you love even those qualities, and I think every person is not perfect.
Right.
Life is filled with imperfections. When we pluck the rose, we only pluck the rose. We forget about the
Thorns.
The thorns, because it's often the greatest medicines are made from thorns.
क्या बात. इस comment के बाद तो मतलब बहुत सारे comments green flag वाले आने वाले हैं. Very well said यार. हर्ष.
मेरा सर बोरिंग सा आंसर है यही कि मतलब मैं कसम से यहाँ पे रेड फ्लैग ग्रीन फ्लैग खेलने नहीं आया था. मैं यहाँ फिल्मों में रहने आया था. और आप मुझे फिल्म ऐसी चाहिए जो सक्सेसफुल हो बॉक्स ऑफिस में, क्योंकि तभी लोग मुझे जो है रिपीट करेंगे. अभी तो विजय सर और टी सीरीज रिपीट कर रहे हैं. कसम से मैं ये चीज़ों में बहुत ज़्यादा हाँ मतलब आंखें हरी हों, ग्रीन आइज इज अ बिग ग्रीन फ्लैग फॉर मी. अपार्ट फ्रॉम रेड फ्लैग वगैरह ये सब मतलब मुझे बहुत इजीली पता चल जाता है कि कहाँ पे क्या. बट सच बताऊँ तो उस पर फोकस मेरा मतलब वो इजीली भगवान मुझे ही मेक श्योर दैट आई एम विद गुड पीपल. तो वो रेड भगवान ही हटा देते हैं.
सो जो लड़कियां जानना चाहती हैं कि हर्ष सिंगल हैं, आई एम श्योर उनको जवाब मिल चुका है. समझदार को इशारा काफी है. मूविंग अहेड नाउ, आजकल जेन ज़ी और मिलेनियल्स के बीच में बहुत सारे दंगे रहते हैं. सो एनी एडवाइस यू हैव फॉर देम, Gen Zs and millennials?
Millennials तो खुद ही हैं, तो उनको ही क्या ही एडवाइस देंगे. We are team millennials.
कुछ लोगों को है जरूरत millennials को.
I think with Gen Zs, I feel like I'm not saying it specifically to anybody, but overall what I understand about Gen Zs is it's slightly more lost generation. Definitely social media has a lot of role to play in that, because there is so much information available to them,
too much,
which was not available back then.
Indeed.
And I feel and I'm really happy with the way we have grown up.
90s
these guys, yes, 90s. So even though these guys have the tools available, I mean there's a really strong pressure on them to not misuse that.
Right.
Yeah, so that generation is just a little lost, busy finding itself way too soon. हमारी probably life में ये stage तब आया था when we were like in college trying to figure out क्या करना है क्या नहीं. उन लोगों का I think बहुत जल्दी ये phase शुरू हो जाता है.
Also I feel
like I'm such a big fan of our generation, because we come from a time where we started our life and there was no internet.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the greatest change in the history of mankind happened with the internet.
Yeah.
Like imagine going back in time 50 years down the line and not be able to video call someone. Nowadays the people we love, we video call them, and we started from VCR. आपको याद है टेप होते थे. उसके बाद हम उस जमाने से floppy, then CD. Now everything is like streaming. Pen drive. So उस टाइम पे क्या होता था, चीज़ें limited होती थी, I would say. So that's why they were our favorites. We have favorite films. Like we are diehard fan of those films. And I would say like between the differentiation you asked, now that there is so much available. Like every time I open Netflix, I get so confused. I'm like मैं क्या देखूँ? And now
Exactly,
these days,
yeah.
like information is passed so
Yeah.
quickly. You review it on tomato meter, and then IMDb, and you get to know it's a bad film. You just drop it. You don't want to experience it. But उस time पे जब हम फिल्में देखते थे, like Titanic was such a cult film, and it stayed. The story stayed with us. Those posters, like we're big fans of hanging those posters in our generation. I don't think that happens anymore.
I think some old
Like,
school charms.
हम कैसे वो
Yeah.
मिक्स करते थे, अपने
Walkman.
फेवरेट गाने डालते थे, वॉकमैन में सुनते थे. I think that charm is
Yeah.
they should have experienced that. The shift in the generation.
It's a huge. I
No,
remember.
but like some old things, no, about like I feel like today's generation reads a lot less.
Yeah.
Because you know you're constantly on the internet, you're scrolling, so your reading has reduced. I'm sure people read a lot lesser newspaper today.
yeah.
Like because I have been taught to read the newspaper since I was like 10 years old.
course, being an army kid,
It was
yeah.
compulsory for us. And
Yeah.
हमारे time में तो I remember जो Bombay Times होता था वो छुपा दिया जाता था. We were only allowed to read the main newspaper.
Right.
It's more like a habit. So I still read the newspaper literally out of habit. But today, because there's constant faster news on your phones, I think people are really out of these kind of things, which I think are still necessary.
Exactly.
You can have your social media and all, but reading books and reading and all these things are still necessary.
न्यूज़ बनने से पहले ही हमारे व्हाट्सएप पे न्यूज़ आ जाती है.
जी.
आजकल इतना तेज ज़माना हो चुका है.